Brittany is here talking about our forecast. The heat and humidity coming back with a vengeance this week, it sounds like, Brittany.
It certainly is, Colin, especially because we haven't seen heat and humidity without storms to help bring some rain, cooled air in quite some time. And really, it's going to be the potential for a heat wave starting on Thursday. A heat wave is typically defined as a longer period of above average heat and humidity. But here in the Carolinas, oftentimes we're talking 3 days or more of 90 degrees plus. That's kind of the day part that we look for when we're talking about a heat wave, especially this time of year. And we're going to get there Thursday and beyond into the weekend easily. And it's not just the heat, but the humidity too. You felt that today if you were outside. It was feeling much more comfortable. Same song and dance tomorrow, but notice how much those numbers do go up as we enter the end of the week. So we're slightly lower than normal now. Humidity is lower than normal too, but both of those numbers are going up, starting to really transition, I guess, there on Wednesday, but eventually Thursday and beyond into the rest of the week. And part of the reason why is that high pressure builds in. Remember, the sinking motion of air when it comes to high pressure keeps storms suppressed for the most part. And with the high overhead and no really trigger for storms, even as we bring back in the heat and humidity, we stay relatively rain free. So when we look at the comparison to normal, we're normally around 86 this time of year. Today and tomorrow, both going to be below that. We're very close to that number on Wednesday, but then notice how much higher we are as we get closer to this weekend and really even beyond into the early half of next week. Remember, as we get closer and closer to, summer and even the latter half of July, when we do have our hottest time of the year here in Charlotte, when your baseline goes up, the more and more it does, this is a difference between us talking 86 above average being 93 versus, 76 and the above average being 83. Once these numbers and the baseline starts to go up in the summer, it means things are even hotter and more humid. Now, the one thing I will point out here is that we have talked about 90 a lot this year, but have not hit it so far. It's not our latest 90-degree day of the year. That was actually back in 2003, where we didn't get to 90 until July, but it is one of the latest. In fact, if we hit it on Thursday, it's the 15th latest in about 150 years of record keeping. So we have had a hot and humid May and June so far. We just haven't gotten into that 90-degree threshold. It takes a lot more energy to warm humid air than it does dry air. So the more humidity you see, oftentimes the harder it is to get to 90, at least pre-June standards. So we know that today was nice. We know tonight's nice too. So let's take a look at that forecast once again. 62 for the Charlotte area, mid 60s down toward the Sandhills. We'll be in the mid 50s for portions of the foothills and lower 50s for the mountains. Across the board, 81 all the way to 87 from I-40 all the way down toward the Sandhills of South Carolina. Tomorrow we'll be in the 70s in the mountains, but pretty much everybody seeing lots of sunshine and that drier air for at least one more day. And then, as we know, Wednesday is our transitionary day to the upper 80s. Humidity starts to creep back up. 90 potentially on Thursday for the first time this year. Hottest days are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, of course, which is Father's Day weekend. And then as we expand the long-range forecast, notice that we get a very brief break, it looks like, out of the 90s, maybe 89 next Monday. But our next series for the Charlotte Knights is going to be pretty hot and humid, too. We have a stretch of 90s now, but we could see a second heat wave into next week.
Wow. All right. The heat sticks around. Brittany, thank you for that look.